Hello, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you happen to be listening from. Happy Friday. We've made it. Welcome to Together Digital's She Rocks. This is a weekly series that we do to feature amazing women who rock, that can help you in anything pertaining to digital or life. My name is Amy Vaughn, and I am the CEO of the largest community for women supporting women in digital in the country. We have had so much going on this past year, good and bad, and that's had such a massive impact. So today's topic has been something that's been very prevalent among our community members, and obviously prevalent with you, otherwise you wouldn't be here. And that is the sense of feeling overwhelmed. Yesterday in social, I was sharing out some information that talks about the stress gap between women and men. And because of the emotional and physical labor that we're taking on, in addition to everything else that's going on, you are not alone in feeling overwhelmed. The gap is there and it is real. So what we wanted to do was to bring to you some real help and real advice. We have an amazing guest that's going to be here with us today to share with you tips on how to start busting that stress. It's something that you really, really, really need to make a priority. Nothing else will get fixed until you fix that stress. Your mental health is as important as your physical health. So I hope that you're ready. I hope you have your notebooks. I hope you have your questions, because Together Digital and our community is a space where it's a safe place to have these conversations, to ask these questions, to look for help and get the help that you need. So first of all, let me know where you all are listening from. We have chapters across the country. We always end up having listeners from across the country and even the world. So it's great to see you all. Thank you for joining in. Again, we want to hear from you. We want to see you. We want you to feel like you are a part of this conversation. Everything that we're doing here is for you. So be sure to check us out if you aren't a member. Our website is togetherindigital.com. You can learn more about the organization, all of our events, membership, and more there. And yeah, is there anything else on my list? I don't know. I think we're ready to get started because, again, like I said, this is a really, really important topic. So I'm excited to introduce to all of you our guest today. I'm going to dig her up here out of our live stream. We actually have a few extra guests with us today, too. We're going to do some live coaching with some of our very lucky members. So thank you to them for being so brave as to come on with us and share what they're going through so that we all can learn together. And Mrthu, thank you for being here. Mrthu Parikh, she is the stress squasher, a productivity coach who helps ambitious women like us wake up and plan and to drop the overwhelm. She's the author of the Amazon bestseller Accomplish It and the host on productivity and the host of the Productivity on Purpose podcast, great podcast. She details the actions that you can take to control the demands and distractions that are in your life. She's the founder also of Life is Organized. Mrthu comes from a decade of expertise in productivity and organization to transform chaos into clarity. Who doesn't want some of that? Right? She is featured in the Huffington Post, US News, and the World Web Report, Real Simple, love that mag, and other outlets. Mrthu, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Amy, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about this. I'm excited to bring you all some tips. And then I think the live coaching piece is going to be awesome because I feel like everybody can relate to something that we're going through and can take a piece away. Hopefully, I'll leave you with some really actionable tips so you can start putting into practice right away. So I'm ready to jump in if you are.
Awesome. Great. Do you want to go ahead and try to share your slides, see if that's working for us?
Yeah, let's. Actually, I'm going to ask a couple questions first, and then we'll jump into the slides. That's okay. So, y'all, get your pens ready because we dropping a lot of just things to do. But also, I want to hear from you. Let's make sure we're all on the same page here. So, let me know in the chat box. Just say a yes, that's me, a thumbs up, however you want to let me know. But have you had a day just in the last, let's say, 2 weeks that you've been busy from morning till evening, doing all the things for all the people, right? Running around like a chicken with your head cut off, and yet at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, you look around and you think, oh my gosh, what did I get done today? Anybody have a day like that recently? Just drop me a, that's me, I can relate. Yeah, hands up is good too. Yeah, definitely, right? It's so frustrating because we're working so hard every day. Emma says, right, all the time. Okay, one more question for you. How do you feel when you wake up in the morning and you look at, or you're just thinking about your to-do list and everything you have to get done? How do you feel? Let me know. Be honest. It's a safe place here. We're all together.
Is there a day not like that?
Yeah, all the anxiety, all the stress, the overwhelm. You're like, I'm already feeling it. I feel like often it's like before the day even gets started, it's like already weighing us down.
Yeah, like laying in bed. Honestly, a lot of times, even on the weekends, like I'll be laying there and thinking I should be laying here and then just enjoying listening to the birds in the morning and sleeping in. And I have to get up because that list, that never ending list just creeps up on me. And it's like there when I go to bed and it's there when I wake up.
Absolutely. Well, it is no surprise. Are you able to see my screen now? I was having an issue. It's not with the permission. It wasn't letting me do it. So I'm gonna try one more time. And if it doesn't work, I can just talk because I can talk. Let's try it again. Let me try it this way. Application window. Sure. We'll do one last one, and if not, we'll just move on. It's totally fun.
We'll roll with it.
No, not working. It's okay. It does not want to give me permission. That's all cool. All right. So fine. It is no surprise, right, that we're feeling all these demands and distractions from the moment we wake up. It's like chances are from the group that I understand who's here, you're ambitious, you're driven. And so chances are you wake up to this bad boy first thing in the morning, right by our bedside, which is never healthy for us, but it's blowing up with texts and alerts and flashes, notifications. And then it's like immediately we're jumping into work and it's like crisis after crisis, fire after fire, while simultaneously dealing with all the emotions in the house these days, trying to get everyone out the door.
Right.
And keep it together while we're also dealing with community and our friends and the volunteer projects, which are always a lot more commitment than they say they are. And because you're highly driven and because you're so ambitious, you're thinking to yourself, well, how can I do this better? Mm-hmm. How can I do this faster? How can I be more productive? Well, I want to tell you, before you get another technology or buy another planner or invest in another hack, we just want to bring it back to the basics. I feel like if we can just get back to the basics, there's so much more that's in our control than we actually feel that it is, right? We disempower ourselves all the time. We allow ourselves and we self-sabotage our ability to focus on the things and the people that matter most. So what I want to do in our short time together here is tell you the 3 ways that we do this most often, like the 3 most simple ways we give our power away, and more importantly, 3 really simple strategies to get back in control and really be more productive than you have in a long time. And what we're going to do is use the acronym ACT, A-C-T. So that's where you want to grab your pens. We're going to go through them because if we want different results, we've got to behave differently and we've got to act a little differently. Okay, so let's jump in. So the first way that we give up our power, that we just let everybody else's demands and distractions get the best of us, is that we rely on willpower. Okay, and willpower doesn't work. So imagine if you're like, I would like to lose 5 or 10 pounds. Would we sit down at our office and be like, I'm just going to put the Krispy Kremes right here and the chocolate cake right here and that chocolate right in front of me, and here's what I'm going to do. Not going to look at it all day. Not going to smell it. I'm definitely not going to taste it, right? Not going to work. We wouldn't do that. However, when we want to do our best work and be totally focused and work at our highest performance level, we put all these distractions literally right in front of us. Not going to look at it. Not going to touch it. Well, definitely not going to respond.
Analogy. Oh my gosh. For 3, you just blew my mind. It is. It's like you're just putting the donuts, the metaphorical donuts in front of your face by keeping this in front of you all the time.
Yes.
That's so
and the willpower is not going to work. So I want you to actually let go of this idea that if I put it on a vibrate and I put it over there, it's not. We're human. We're going to look at it, and willpower is not going to work. So here are the 3. Here's my top 3. They're really simple, but they are powerful. Okay. As you can imagine, our phones are our number one. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back up. So the A, as you may have guessed, in ACT and acting differently, is to avoid the distractions. Avoid the distractions. So let me tell you the 3 simple ways. Our phone is our biggest contributor to our distractions of all time. So if you are still receiving your notifications on your phone, like every email that comes in, all the the news alerts, all the alerts, if the alerts are coming in, and by the way, if if you want to just focus on email alone, that's going to make a massive impact. We on average are getting about, on average, 120 emails a day. All right, also 150 probably really in real life, right? If you're still getting them on your phone, on your laptop, on your screen, on your iPad, on your watch, if you're getting those email notifications, you are allowing yourself to be distracted about 150 times a day. That's insanity, and it's so simple. So I'm not even asking you to turn off all the notifications because I think there's too much FOMO right now to be like, all right, just turn off everything. No one's going to do that. But if you do those emails alone, I cannot tell you how that simple little just switch, just turning it off, is going to just, you know, put you into complete focus mode. So that's one really simple one. Okay. Number two, the second one is another one that you probably know, you've heard of, but I feel like we just don't use this often enough. And it's simply the do not disturb setting on the phone. If you're not familiar with it, you just go on your settings, you swipe on do not disturb, and here's what happens. It prevents all the dings, rings, notifications, beeps, tweets coming into you, but you have full access to all the interwebs and everything on your phone and all the apps. And here's the deal. If you're like, that freaks me out, how will anyone ever get in touch with me? You know, I need to hear from my kid's school, from my mom, from my clients. Just below, when you swipe, just below it, it says allow calls from. And when you click on that, you can say, I want to hear from my mama, I want to hear from my baby, I want to hear from the principal, right? My key client. And that way you have no excuse to not be using this simple tool.
I need that for my desktop.
And they actually have a very similar one, just like for your desktop as well. And so listen, I'm not saying hours on end. I'm not even saying an hour. I mean like 30 minutes, right? We want to be totally focused. So it takes about, on average, it takes us 7 minutes to get into the state of flow. And flow, I feel like we've heard about it a lot, but flow is essentially concentration. So it takes us 7 minutes to get, just to start getting to the point where we're fully working in our highest potential level, in our most, productive self. So how is it then we are ever truly working at our highest potential level when we are reacting or responding to a tweet, chirp, ring, ding, beep, someone walking in, interruption once every 3 to 4 minutes? That's what research shows. That's how frequently we're getting these notifications. So real simple, get those notifications off, the email ones. 2, use that do not disturb, like actually use it. I know you know what's on your phone, but actually use it. And then this is the third one. And this one's the Mac Daddy. This is the one that brings it home, plus so many other ones we can go through, but we're going to keep these streamlined here. Actually, before I jump into that, let me ask you this. If you were like, all right, I'm going to listen to her, I'm going to turn off the notifications, I'm going to do my do not disturb, how long do you think that you're going to stay really focused without you getting distracted and like jumping into something else? And let me make sure to check my email and jump into that. Like, how, like, be totally honest. How long do you think, like, if you're like, I'm going to sit down all day and I'm going to do what she said, how long do you think that's going to last, your focus?
You know, it's funny. I'll answer as people are putting comments in. I think for me, because I've been trying to practice this more by doing like time boxing on things, so I can do deep work, and it takes practice. I think at first I would probably still have the instinct to go back and check every few minutes, like probably 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Now I've gotten into such practice. It's kind of funny. My family's always teasing me because I lose my phone a lot because I just don't give it that much attention anymore. I'll be like, where did I put it? What did I? So I think it's one of those things that's like a muscle that you build. But oh, Sherry says she can go 45 minutes. You're doing better than
doing great. Because Amy, I'm with you. It's like 3 to 5 minutes. And people, they're like, oh no, I could do it longer, until they actually do it. And you're like, I actually cannot stay focused for that, long.
Yeah.
So the another one, again, I feel like people may have heard of it, but we're not using it. And this is the Pomodoro method. Are you familiar with that? Yes, right? Right. And the Pomodoro method is all based on brain research and science that shows your optimal brain performance is best utilized in increments of 25 minutes, which essentially just means you just have to stay focused for 25 minutes, and that's it. Yeah. So if I told you, like, listen, you can be at your optimal brain performance, you're going to be more productive than ever, you're going to be more focused. If you just had to do 25 minutes, not an hour, not 45 minutes, could you do it? right? We can do it. We're adults in business. We can do 25 minutes. So a couple of things to note about it, because again, I think it's like we've heard about it, but do we really know why this is working? You really want to use the app and nothing else. You don't want to use your clock or a watch or anything else. And I'm going to show you one on my phone. It's called Focus Keeper. This is one I use. It's free. That's you Focus Keeper. And you just press the 25. And here's why. If you use a clock, or if you're trying to time yourself another way, psychologically, you see time going away from you. So you're seeing it's 9:25, 9:26, 9:27. And that actually puts this like total weight on your shoulders. Time is escaping you and time is going away. When you're using a timer, and this is why they're so important to use, time comes coming towards you. So it's 25, 24, 23, 22. And so psychologically, you are working towards something, which means you are far more likely to stay on track than when time is going away. So there's a lot of research on just believe me about that. And then also it helps you to start on things you're procrastinating. We all have those things we don't want to do. We're like putting it off. It goes on the list every day, it keeps going over. If you're like, I knew it was just 25 minutes, I had to like organize that drawer or do that finance or do that spreadsheet, it'll get you to turn it on and knowing I just have, I'm getting through it. And if I'm 12 minutes in and I want to go check on social media or check my email, you're like, oh, I could do 13 more minutes, right? So it is a great procrastination tool. And that's something I think we should really be utilizing. And so I say, become a Pomodoro queen. Like challenge yourself to say, I'm going to do 5 today. I'm going to do at least, start if it's your first time, I'm going to do at least 3 today. And you're going to see how incredibly powerful this is. One thing to know it, and it's another to really do it. Amy, you sound like you're using that. Are you using it?
I haven't actually used the app. I time box my calendar for my deep work in that way.
Good.
And I kind of turn everything off, but I think I am going to start using the app and or the site. Somebody just shared, and I'm going to share it in the chat now. The desktop,
I use on the desktop
app as well, because I tend to definitely have this issue more on my desktop with like a million tabs open. I know y'all are with me, and my tabs are my to-do list. And so I think new windows and or just closing out those tabs and not using my tabs as my to-do list has also helped, because you get little flashes up in those tabs when something comes up, and then that's all it takes is like I'm off. So yes, definitely Pomodoro method has been something I have found very helpful for somebody who gets highly distracted.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So I left out the tabs because we were short on time, but I do want to address it because I think you're totally right. Yeah. So actually the tabs is one of the most distracting things on your desktop. And because here's what it is. Okay, first of all, who has like 37 tabs open all the time, right? We have like, all the time, right? An open tab is a constant reminder of everything you haven't gotten done. So talk about 50 pounds on your shoulders, like subconsciously and consciously, it's a constant reminder of everything you don't do. Yeah. And instead of focusing on what you have to do, instead of celebrating what you have done, now we're always thinking about what we haven't done. So let's go old school, right? Let's go back. Remember, don't rely on willpower, because you'll see it. You'll want to click on it. I got to do this. I got to, right? We cannot rely on willpower. So there's 2 things. One, close the tabs, like literally go and X them. And I know it's going to freak you out. So go old school. Let's keep a piece of paper next to us, a notebook, and write down the things we got to do instead of using that as your to-do list. Like make a to-do list so that you just have the peace of mind that it's,
that's a good point. Yeah, I need to go back to that. We talk about the Rocket Notebook a lot too, but I don't want to segue too much. We did have one quick question that came up. The app that you talked about was called the Minimalist, like Minimal List, LIST. Okay, cool. That was the app that she was referencing. And then Rebecca also was, Elizabeth was asking if this works for creatives. Daydreaming sometimes births new ideas. I would say, you can answer this too, obviously, but I would say, yes, I'm creative by trade, even though I run this organization. A lot of what I segue into is brainstorming and ideation and creative. I think it actually helps because it gives me focus, and I know whatever I'm daydreaming about happens to be within that space, but then I also still work outside of that. So I've found flexibility in it. Martha, I don't know how you feel about it.
Absolutely. So I think this is such a good question, because it's such a misnomer. Like people really feel in this conception that if I'm structuring my time, it's like taking me away from creativity. And I would say it's just the opposite, because when your time is more kind of structured and focused, now you're like allowing creativity to come in, and and you're getting things done faster, so then you can have a whole creative afternoon. So let's say you're like, if I use my Pomodoro method for the whole morning, and I got it typically would take me, literally they say, and not say, I've tested this, I've tried it, you will say 40% of your time of the day. So let's say what you were typically doing in 8 hours, you're now doing in 5 hours because you're Pomodoroing, that's the word. Now you have 3 extra hours to be creative.
Right.
So that's really the main thing. It's not that it's boxing you into a certain time to be creative. It's allowing more freedom in your
100%.
day to be creative. Yeah.
100%. Yes, exactly. I agree. I've definitely felt that. And I've seen that as well. And when I was still a managing creative director, doing this method, some of my most creative coworkers that I was kind of coaching that were on my team use this method too. And it was that same revelation of, it gives you more time and freedom to be creative instead of constantly feeling like you're behind on a deadline, because the things that need to be done are done. And so there's freedom and discipline. I know as a creative, that sounds like a scary ass thing, but I swear it's true.
Yes. Awesome. All right. So that's avoid distractions. Like I said, I know we could do a lot more distractions, but those were some of the top ones, and they're easy tools, and they do not rely on willpower, because willpower is not going to work. So use these easy tools. The second way that we sort of disempower ourselves is that in our hecticness, our day-to-day lives are like busy doing all the things for all the people, and that everything feels so important, we are often focused on the wrong things, right? So here's something that I feel like maybe we can all relate to. Where if you're like, I know what my big priorities are. I know exactly what I need to be doing. I think for everybody, they're very different, right? We have personal priorities like health or weight or connection with our family and, relationship building. And then there's professional. It's like building our businesses, hitting maybe sales, networking, hitting certain revenue goals, writing a book, becoming a coach, all the things. Okay. And often, here's what happens. You're like, I'm going to come in and I know, or I'm starting work on home right now, and I know exactly what I should be doing, right? I know what I should be doing, but I'm just going to check my email for 10 minutes. It's 9 o'clock. You look down, you look up, it's noon. At noon, you're like, you know what? I opened up all this can of worms. Let me just tie up this stuff because, it's all out there now. No big deal. I know what I should be focusing on. I'll just get to it later. So you put your head down, you start doing all your work, you look up, it's 3 or 4 o'clock. 3 or 4 o'clock, you're like, I know what I should be doing, but I'm out of steam. I'm just so tired. And the stuff that I should be doing, and 99% of the time, it takes energy, it's strategy, it's planning, it takes mental power, it takes bandwidth. No big deal. I have so much more email I can do and so many other things. I'll just get back to that tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning comes around, you're like, I know exactly what I should be doing. I'm just going to check my email for 10 minutes, right? And this vicious cycle happens over and over. And this is personally with exercise to professionally with that annoying training document. I know it's going to save a lot of time, but I don't ever feel like doing it, or, the finances or whatever it is. So on the other hand, what if you're like, there is a way that the first thing that I do is I focus on those big priorities every morning before anything else. And if I did that first, everything after that, all the nonsense and the emails and the distractions and the interruptions and the texting and all that doesn't even matter, because every single day you are making progress on the things that matter most to you and your biggest priority. So the C in ACT is to commit to your, not just your priorities, but your power hour. So I call it commit to your power hour. And that power hour is that first hour of your day. And that first hour is, I think, the most important hour literally of your life, of your business, of your career, of your relationships. It's the most important hour of your life. And I strive very hard actually to do 2 power hours, a personal power hour and a professional power hour.
That's smart. Yeah.
And in that personal one, it's, and by the way, if that whole, right there, if you're like, she's crazy, a power 30 is just fine too. Let's not get all caught up in this power 30, power hour, but it's that first time that when you wake up in the morning, that you are fully like, I want to have my coffee by myself. When I was writing a book, I'm like, whether I get 5 words down or 500 words down, 30 minutes every morning for me, for my personal goal, right? To do that. Maybe it's exercise, meditating, walking, journaling, writing your goals for the day. It is your time for you to focus on what's most important to you. If it's reconnection time, I've had clients who are like, I write my kid a note every morning. I write my husband a note every morning, right? It's like my time for connection. You know what your priorities are, and what can we do for that, to do that, make that happen. And then that first hour of your workday is, I can tell you what it's not. It's not email. It is that strategy. It is the planning. The way you know what it is, it's the thing that says, what do I keep procrastinating? What do I keep putting off? And that's the first thing that you focus on, which, by the way, a power hour is 2 Pomodoros. That's it. It's just 25 minutes. Let me take, I'm sorry, one thing I didn't mention about the power hour, Pomodoros, after the 25 minutes, you get a 5-minute break. You get a 5-minute break to recalibrate, to reprocess, to reassess. And so you get the 5 minutes. Guess what you get to do in your 5 minutes? Go check your email. Go check your Instagram. Do whatever you want. And then come back for 25 minutes and you're done for the day, right? And I said everything after that, who cares? Because every single day you are making progress on your personal priorities and your professional priorities. And just imagine what you could do if you do this every day a week on the weekdays, 5 hours, 20 hours a month. Imagine if you put 20 hours deliberate, intentional, fully focused time towards any goal in your life.
Yeah.
What impact you could have. So that is the C in ACTs to commit to your power hour. And by the way, one last thing I'll leave you on, because I know we want to wrap up quickly here, is if you're thinking, well, I have kids in the morning and maybe I have traffic when I start working again and traveling and all this stuff. I can tell you, if you're committed to this, you will figure out a way to make it happen. You'll pack the lunches at night. You'll get up a half an hour earlier. You'll have somebody else carpool. You'll have your husband or wife walk the dog. Like, you'll figure out some other way to make this happen. Maybe do 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening. So I know that you're creative and ambitious enough to make this work if this is really important to you. All right. And the final strategy, and then we'll jump into questions, or the final way I'll say actually that we give up our priorities, or we give up our power, is that we're not really putting the time to get things done on our calendar. In other words, I say, if it's not on your calendar, it's all on your calendar. Yep. Right. So if you're not actually blocking the time to get the work done, then if you're in total reactivity mode all day, I'll guarantee you this is what it is. I would say I can look at your calendar and I can tell you what your priorities are. So the T is time blocking. And I feel like we've heard it, we've done it, but I want to talk about why it goes awry, why it doesn't work, why we see things on there and they just we glaze over it and it goes to the next day, right? It's not rocket science for time blocking. We've heard it before, but like why are we doing it? A couple things. Number one, we're not reverse engineering all the steps. So if something is due on a Friday, like we have to get something out to a client, we have to get a proposal out, generally it's like Friday, you might have it on the calendar, right? It's like, get it out, get it there. What about the time on Monday to create the first draft? What about the time on Tuesday to get the team feedback? What about the time on Wednesday to create the slides? What about the time on Thursday to finalize it, to finally deliver it on Friday? That is typically what we're missing. It's all the steps between like when it came into when it has to go out and really blocking off that time in small steps, which is the second reason we glaze over things or we fall behind or we're up against a deadline. Is that typically if we put something on our calendar, it's too big. And when it's too big, it's too overwhelming. So we'll glaze over it. We're paralyzed by it and we'll find something else. We'll always find something else to do. Right. So, if you're like, I'm going to work on such and such presentation or proposal and you blocked out 4 hours or half your day. First of all, the thought of having to focus on anything for 3 to 4 hours for me is shut me down like that. Like there's no way, right? And let's say you even put an hour. Let's say you just even put 1 hour and it says, finish presentation. Well, that's going to shut me down too, because that's a huge ask. Like there's probably 5 different steps in there. And I don't know if I can finish it all in one time or when I get to that work on presentation, what does that even mean? But if I had put on there, create the outline or make slides 1 to 5, on my calendar, I'm a lot more likely to start moving on it because it's a small bite-sized piece. I'd rather you block off little 30 minutes throughout your day than trying to block off hours at a time with these big projects, because it's just a recipe of tell me, what else can I do? Yes, please. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I can answer this. Let me do this text, this email.
Right. Oh, that's so true. Martha, that's brilliant. I mean, I think Jessica just hit it on the head too here. I always scheduled 2 hours for big projects I've been procrastinating on, and then I just skip it. But that, like, that's the reason, is because too, we just, like you said at the start of all of that, it's like we are living in this time of reactivity. And I wanted to ask you this question too, because one, I don't know if she's listening, but I have a friend and neighbor who I ran into the other day, and she has a very demanding job, has 2 children at home. And I asked her to watch today. So Bonnie, if you're there, hi. But I realized that there's this pressure on all of us, because a lot of us are still working from home, that we have to be responsive. There are no more boundaries within when the workday begins and when the workday ends. And that was already an issue in this particular industry before the pandemic, but now it's even more so. So a question that I want to ask for the group and for Vani, in case she is listening, is how do you begin to, as you're kind of building and structuring, and whether it's using Pomodoro, time blocking, how do you even begin to address that or work through that? Or what are some experiences or tips you have there?
Yeah, well, such good questions. But first thing I want to just keep in mind, and I think it might help to like put a sticky note of this like mantra and like have it in front of you. But if you don't respect your time, nobody else will. So something, if you don't lead, like there's nobody holding your hand through this, ladies. There's nobody else going to tell you, oh no, take your time and getting back to me. And everything is urgent for somebody else, right? So it is 100% up to you to take control of this, first of all. So we need to start there, because we all know, right? Like no one's doing it for us. No one's telling us it's okay. So
that's great.
So let's really like embrace that. And then secondly, there's nothing saying that you can't do a Pomodoro for responsive work. In fact, I would say you should absolutely have Pomodoros for responsive work. And what I mean by that is put on the 25-minute timer and say, I'm only going to, maybe go through my texts and my WhatsApp, whatever. I'm just going to respond to that. Or like if you're someone who has to do a lot of social media for your work, I'm just going to only respond to my social media for 25 minutes. Or I'm going to go into my email and respond to all of the like 2-minute and under responses I can in 25 minutes, right? And so that way you're actually making progress, and you're not getting so that disrupted time is it is important, because it is work, right? And it's just as important as your other priorities. But when they're all meshed and you're checking your email 17,000 times a day, then it's a shit show, right? It's just like, it's really bad. It's like you're just reacting all day. So I'd say use the same tools. So these tools apply, the Pomodoro, or the do not disturb for that, but use it for your responsive work.
That makes a whole lot of sense. I love that. And I feel like you've already given me a few epiphanies, and I thought I was on it and productive and things like that. That makes a lot of sense. Awesome. Did you have any other pieces of tips or advice? I know we have a couple members who as well were so awesome and brave as to come on and kind of share some of their situations and questions that they might be able to help, or you might be able to help them.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. So I'll just recap one last time. The A in ACT is avoid distractions. C, commit to your power hour, and T, time block. And when you kind of start meshing these together and kind of like, doing more than one, it is tremendous what these really simple, basic tools can do for you. So yes, I would love to speak to, your members here.
We're going to bring on Emma first.
Hey, Emma.
Emma. How are you? Oh, we can't hear you. Let's make sure you're not muted. What happened?
Oh, there we go. My cat does these things. He actually is very good at keeping me in Pomodoro and time blocking. He is like every 3 hours, I must pay attention to him, and he will lay on my computer. And he just did that. So he turned off my microphone. So I work for a very small company, and there are 2 of us who are on staff, the president and myself. I'm the vice president. and we have 2 people who work for us part-time, and we contract out to some other people. And we have been bringing on clients like wildfire the last 3-4 months. And I am the lead on all of these clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought on my support, my executive support, 3 weeks ago at this point, when I was working on 8 clients by myself, essentially. My boss has we agreed, he laid me off it was a year ago at this point. We lost all of our clients at the start of the pandemic. I worked for a alcoholic beverage marketing company. So when all the tasting rooms closed down, everyone cut their marketing. And then I came back, we agreed I would work on the existing clients, which at the time were 4, and he would bring in new business. Now, obviously, it's very much ballooned, and we have now gone from 8 to 12.
Wow.
And I'm still the head of everything. They're all calling me all the time. They're all emailing me. I put a task on Teamwork that's due in 2 weeks. They're commenting on that. Somebody who's not paying attention to what it says on the task is emailing me about why they have to write the blog post, even though they're just a viewer, or why do I have to be on this call when it says they're optional. So not only do I feel like I have to talk to these people and walk them through their strategy and do all of the high level stuff, I also feel like I have to say, well, George, this is how you make a PDF. And it's a lot. Like this morning, I was on a call with my therapist, and the majority of my clients are on the West Coast. So sometimes I can schedule personal things in the mornings. And I had a client calling me multiple times while I'm on the phone with my therapist, and somebody is in Indiana right now, and somebody's in Long Island, and they're like, we need this, and all, like you're saying, the emails are coming through, and I'm just, I don't know how to function anymore. That's where I am.
Wow. Well, I mean, congratulations on all the success. So that's exciting.
Thank you.
But yeah, I definitely come with a series of challenges. I think it's growing pains. Now, did you say you do have an admin, or you just hired an admin?
I do. I just hired an admin 3 weeks ago.
Okay. And it's really soon. Are you able to actually delegate some things?
Yes, I am very lucky in that this gentleman has been a friend for several years, and he was previously on the opposite side. So he was a journalist, and he understands a lot of the PR side of it from being a journalist, and like what goes into a pitch and strategy and that sort of thing. So he's picking it up very quickly, but also like I'm still having to do a significant amount of editing of the things that I am delegating at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Gosh, I'd say there's probably a combination of things. I think one, just as from a business standpoint, and it's so hard to ever, especially after not having business for a while, have a lot of business and then say, oh, we need to slow down. But there is a reality of at what point does the work get affected? Yes. If you're continuing to take such a high volume and not increasing the staff very quickly. It doesn't sound like it's a proportional, right? It's like you got from 4 to 8, and there's only one other person who just came in 3 weeks ago. So and I'm not a business coach, but I'm just saying there is a point where I think it's sort of like we really need to maybe put the some boundaries up in terms of how quickly can we take in more clients, because what you want to do is save your reputation, serve your clients really well, and not continue to take them on. So I think probably a lot of this comes to boundaries, and there's really great ways to partner and collaborate with prospects to say we are slammed. And by the way, we hear this on the recipient end all the time, whether it's a doctor or a lawyer or a restaurant you want to call and you make a reservation, they're like, sorry, we're slammed, we're booked, but we're happy to take you, in 2 Saturdays from now, or we can start next month with you. So I don't think it's necessarily turning away clients, but it's having that conversation that's really only helping you as well as helping them, right? Helping with your delivery. So I think there's sort of a boundary probably of just the thinking about the whole funnel. So probably there. Then
that's where I'm sorry. That's where I run into a problem also, is that that's not me. My boss is the one doing the new business, and all he can see is he wants to get to a point where we are making profit.
Yeah.
And I've tried to have the conversation with him that I am to the point where I'm not doing good work. I'm not doing creative work. All I'm doing is trying to make sure I'm not dropping balls.
Yeah.
And he's saying our clients aren't being serviced well enough, and we aren't getting big enough wins for them soon enough. And like, I have been to like visiting friends who are in Together Digital, and I'm like sitting in my car in front of my friend's house crying because I'm trying to deal with this. And she's like, are you just lurking in your car? Are you coming to visit? I'm like, I can't. I'm just like, trying to deal with him. And he's not getting it because he's seeing dollars. And I don't know how to deal. I don't know how to deal.
Yeah, I think you're doing the right things. Keep the communication open. If you can potentially, and it's just like adding another thing to your list, I know what I'm going to say, but show him somehow, keep a log or a quick, one spreadsheet, something you're writing on that's like, this is something that fell through the cracks, or this is a client who was unhappy, or this, like, sometimes we just need some people are just a little bit harder to get through, and they need to see the evidence of like, here's, like, here's how it's really impacting. And just keep that up. And at some point you have your own boundary and you're like, I'll do the best I can, but I can only, this is it. Like, if I brought it to your attention enough times, if things fell through, and I know you're super high integrity. It's not like you're like, you want things to fall through the cracks, but at some point it's like your sanity. So, and then I think as you're onboarding or bringing on new clients, or even your existing clients, there's probably, and maybe you're doing this, but some level of boundaries right there in terms of, here are the times that I'm available, or I will get back to you within 24 hours. Let's just say I'm making a thing, of your email or of your phone call. I think setting expectations like that, it really helps you, because it takes the weight off of you and them. And I would say anytime, this is just in general for anyone listening, when we're doing kind of boundaries and expectations, always try to put it in the benefit of the other person. So for example, you might say, I really want to put some more thought into this and get you a really like cohesive answer. I really want to make this very thoughtful. I really want to be, get my best work done. And so I need, so I need to really sit with this, and I have a lot of priorities, and I'm really sit with this, so I'll get back to you, in a few days. Or I think when you can say it in a way, it's not just like I'm busy, but what is the benefit to that person? The benefit is generally they're going to get better outcomes, they're going to get a better result, they're going to get better attention, whatever that may be. So if you can almost get that into like an email template or something you can read off when you're on the phone, like, so that it becomes something you don't have to think of. Because I think thinking of the words, when you're getting that pressure at that moment, you're like, I can't get the words out, I can't say it right. So if you can almost get that down and keep it in front of you on an index card or something, so that when you have to say it, it comes out more naturally. It's kind of like, it's just a great little help.
Well, it's like you said earlier, it's like, if you don't respect your time, no one will.
Yeah.
And if all of these clients know that there are no boundaries, if your boss knows there's no boundaries, then they're never going to respect them. I agree with you. I would keep talking with him, because there's no point in trying to gain revenue while burning out the person that is the main source of continued revenue by being the top person for 8 to 12 accounts. You're limited on resources. And I think that's always a fair conversation to have. I've had that with bosses in the past, to say, these are the expectations. These are my existing resources. They don't align. And then once you figure out how they don't align, whether that's time, money, support, delegation, make sure that he knows what you need in order to get that done. Because the alternative is you aren't able to function to actually even do your job. And then at that point, nobody wins. So if he truly does care about you as a boss and an employee and as somebody that's a valuable, asset to the growth of the business, which I don't think he wouldn't believe that if he wasn't giving all this responsibility, but it shouldn't be at the cost of breaking your back. And quite honestly too, I do see this just happen a lot in the workplace with women. And so thanks for staying calmer through, because I'm just like, oh, it makes me so mad. I've seen it happen so much where strong, ambitious, independent women, and I just happen to know, because I know you, Emma, being single and no children, the expectation is that you should just be able to take it all on. And that's not fair, and it's not right. So yeah, let's keep talking, Emma. Keep using the organization. I think the tips that Murthu gave you are really helpful too. Hopefully you find them helpful. But those very transparent conversations and expectations, you deserve that. You really, really do.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very interesting, because it's even like my support has been in for 3 weeks, and like I send Mike an email, my boss, every Monday saying, I think this client is annoyed. I think this is going to slip through the cracks. Can you help me here? Mike will say, okay. Yeah. And every Wednesday at our staff meeting, Mike will say, I haven't been able to do this, that, or the other thing. I can't take this on. Can you take it back? And Sam said to me, does this happen every week?
Yeah.
It does.
You need
I didn't realize that, but yes, it does.
An executive assistant isn't enough. You need more support. You need more account managers. And there's enough people looking for work out there. You can do it temp to hire. It doesn't have to be a full-time position. Again, I know you probably don't have the insight to the numbers and things like that, but yeah. I mean, that's great though that you guys are growing like you are in this current climate and situation. All right. If you don't mind, we got about 10 minutes left. Emma says, thank you for sharing your story with us. You are not alone. We are going to bring on Miss Monica next. Thank you, Emma. We'll be talking soon. Okay?
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, Monica. Monica is our city champion, our fabulous city champion of the Detroit chapter, and she's joined us today as well to get some one-on-one coaching and share a bit of what she's got going on in the hopes that it'll help some of you. So thanks for coming on, Monica. Let's get you unmuted.
Whoops, here we go. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I am in a different situation than Emma. I have been on a job search for almost a year now. So I have all these tasks for my job search, and I have all these tasks for keeping the house together, and my fiance works full-time and he's working a lot of hours, and you know, he's leaning on me to kind of keep things together in the house, and then having and being able to do things that I want to do as well to, you know, have joy in my life. I'm having trouble like prioritizing what it is that, or how I can organize my bulletin board of life. Yeah, I'll back up. Earlier this week, we had a speaker, and that's kind of how she defined, you know, how we are getting stress in our lives is, you know, we're posting things on our bulletin board. It's kind of like a crazy, chaotic mess, and it's driving the stress up in our lives. And I did the exercise myself, and I made myself like a little bulletin board of all the things. So I have like sticky notes just plastered over this. I mean, my desktop computer screen over here is like twice the size as my laptop, so like it's a lot of things. And I'm having trouble prioritizing the things I need to do versus the things that I want to do. And I don't know if there's maybe like a time ratio of, you know, should I spend this much time doing the need tos and then this much time doing the want tos? And like, I kind of find myself just trying to pick things off just to get it done. And then it reappears because it's a reoccurring thing. So it's, that's kind of where I'm at. Like the bulletin board life is exploding all over the place.
Yeah, that was a really good analogy. Sorry, Murthu, I know that you like got lost. No, it's okay. Monica's just in a slightly different situation in the sense that she's been looking for work for about a year. And I know she's been working really, really hard. Like a lot of our women who are within the organization that are job seekers right now, because we have a peer group that meets once a week, they are working anywhere from 60 to 70 hours a week just on finding a job. And so, you know, I think Monica was relating a lot to a session that the Detroit chapter did recently, all about sort of, again, this whole like stressed out and how do we cope. And Dr. Romy, who was the guest there, speaker, talked about that bulletin board of the mind. And so that's the exercise she's referring to, is how she kind of put all those things up. And it's a big old mess of things, and it's all some personal, some professional. And then I think you were back in for everything else. So unless I forgot something, Monica, then feel free to chime in.
No, that's good. Good feedback.
And the question is, how do we prioritize it? Is that kind of where you want to go? Okay. So I'm a big, well, first of all, I mean, kudos to you, like going on such a great journey, and it's just amazing, and just putting yourself out there. And I'm sure something fabulous is going to come your way when the time is right. But I'm a big fan of threes, like three of everything, 3 goals, 3, you know, as the ACT was like the 3 steps. I find like threes are manageable, and then threes are where we can make progress. So when I'm working with clients, I always say, let's start with 3 priorities, like 3 goals. So 3, knowing that I know it's hard to pick 3 because you probably have, like you said, dozens up there. It's not that you're not going to get to the other ones, but some of our best motivation and inspiration comes from starting and ending something, right? Or starting and making good progress and moving on, instead of spreading ourselves so thin that we're doing 20 things at one time and not making a lot of progress. So in terms of your ratio, a suggestion, you might try this, maybe 1 or 2 things professionally that I really want to focus on, and maybe something personally. I don't know, how does that sound to you, and how does that feel if you did something like that?
That sounds like a pretty good plan. Yeah, I still just have a lot of things on my to-do list. So.
Right. And so we're taking those, starting with the 3. And again, the mindset is, I'm not putting to bed the other 100. I'm just starting here, so I have a place to keep focused, and then I can, get to the next one. But with those 3, then it's like, okay, what are some immediate next steps, next action items I can do on those, so that I kind of think of like a funnel. So you can think of like, here's all the things on the bulletin boards up here. Here's everything, right? And like, now here's like my 3, we're going down the funnel, we're putting it a little bit more narrow. And now from there, what are just some action steps, maybe 1 or 2 action steps for each of those 3. So when you come down and you're looking at your day, you're down at the bottom of the funnel, it's only like, those 6 or 7 that are kind of dripping out. We're focusing on those, put on the blinders, we're doing those, make some progress, and then we start back again. Take those 3, what are some more action steps? And at some point you'll get a little far enough where you're like, I can now look at another priority, or I've actually put to bed, I've kind of completed one of these goals, or I've gotten far enough along it, because sometimes we break up our goals into smaller pieces, and then go back to another one. But I find like if we start and we make tremendous progress, we're almost completed, that is what keeps you really invigorated and inspired and motivated, instead of feeling like drained and scattered and exhausted all the time. It's so much, to me, it's just so much connected to our emotional state, like how we're feeling. And that feeling comes from, what are we accomplishing, Right. If you had to pick, like, if you just had to put a stake in the ground, that's why I say just put a stake in the ground. There's no right or wrong. You're like, what's one of the, maybe one personal and one professional, if you're willing to share, and maybe you just want to think about it, but is there something that comes to mind right away that you're like, I just really want to put my focus on this?
It's super broad, but it's the biggest, like, professional one is, nailing down a job.
Okay.
And getting interviews. If I were to, like, narrow it down a little bit more, getting an interview for the next week's schedule. So
okay. And what are some immediate steps that just from previous this year that helps you in that process to get the interviews?
Aside from physically applying for the job, networking has been the biggest driver in that, and knowing someone on the inside. So using my LinkedIn connections to connect with those people who are hiring.
So what I'm hearing is like connecting, and then and reaching out, actually applying. If you were to say, is there a certain number, maybe you could say for the week, you're like, I want to apply to 2 and reach out to 2 people, or something like that. Would that be helpful to say, I have a goal for that week, because I'm going to take it the broad goal, I've broken it down, and I'm going to make it smaller and smaller. would that help for, like, let's say, to give you guidance to where to put your time for next week?
I do have a goal of applying for 2 jobs a day.
Okay. How is that working out?
Sometimes there's response and sometimes there's not. So it's kind
Are
of,
you finding that there's like 2 jobs that are worth you applying to each day? Because I'm wondering, like, I think, Martha, you totally gave me another like aha moment of sometimes I've learned it's definitely like they always joke and say work smarter, not harder, but then also realizing that sometimes we extend ourselves in what those like smaller goals are, and that we don't end up setting something up realistic.
Yeah. And that's why I was asking how that was working. I'm on the same page with you. Like, how is that working? That seems like a lot, but I don't know.
It is a lot.
probably not that great.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not surprising because that seems like a lot. I agree with you, Amy. Maybe perhaps scaling it back to not just realistic, but you're like you said, the smarter one, like to the more higher quality.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of this idea of this, so there's this like illusion of productivity. The illusion of productivity, often it's like, it's almost like busy work. And I don't want to disparage what you're doing, because I know like the work you're putting into that is a lot. But I wonder, can you get really 2 high quality opportunities every single day? Right. Is it better to maybe step back and say maybe it's 1 or 2 a week, and then they're really high quality, so I can put more, time and effort into that and finding the right thing. It also takes the pressure off of you. That's every single day. And now you're hitting that goal, right? You're hitting, or we're trying to, one of your goals for that week, and now we're going to hit it instead of being maybe at the end of the day, I didn't do it. And you're like, oh, I feel like crap. I really didn't hit my goal, And then continue maybe your next one. If it's a personal one and your professional one, I would say can do the same thing. Get the big goal. That's fine. How do we refine it a little bit? How do we refine it more? And so it's something feasible, but it makes you feel really accomplished too. And start adding those in through your week. And I bet you'll just have a much better week, because at the end of the week, you feel like I hit those goals. Yeah. It makes you excited.
I love that's such good advice, because there's something to the fact too that I've learned over this last year and being forced to be more thoughtful and intentional with my time and productivity is that it seems really counterintuitive, but if you actually sometimes do less, you get more done.
Yes.
It sounds insane, but I swear it's true. People look at me like, what? I expect less of myself and I get more done. Like, I set realistic goals and standards, and I don't fail those, and I can imagine too, Monica, like how much extra mental space and physical space are you going to have freed up by not putting that pressure on yourself to apply to 2 jobs every single day? That's a lot of work, man. I get tired looking for jobs. I mean, I've been there, trying to search and apply for a job at just one.
Yeah, I agree. And you bring up a great point, Amy. All of us, I think, do this. Again, I think overachievers and women especially, we fall into this trap. The beginning of the day, we have the to-do list, and let's say we think we're going to get 15 things done on the to-do list, right? So it all makes sense when it's on paper. It totally seems reasonable. And at the end of the day, you get, 8 of them done. And the 8 are really good. Like, that's a lot to get done. But there's probably only one thing you're focused on at the night, and that's the 7 I didn't get done. Yeah. Right. We're always like thinking about everything we didn't do instead of like what we did do. And so, to your point, Amy, if we can make it more realistic, like keep that list shorter, so that when 8 are on your list and you get through 7, now you're like, I got through 90%. That's amazing. Versus I had 15, I did 8. I didn't even get to like half of them, or a little over half of them.
And busy isn't a badge of honor. This isn't a competition. The person with the longest to-do list is not the most accomplished, at all. So don't, and I know that there's like a ton of like guilt and worry when you are looking for a job. It's like, every day that passes, it feels like so much, but the only person that's passing judgment on yourself about that is likely you. So give yourself a little bit of a break and make sure you're taking care of yourself, which I know you do a lot of that as well. All right, we have just about a minute left. This was really great. Thank you for coming up and sharing, Monica. I know there's a lot of women that are in your position as well right now. So I think both of you and Emma had a great balance of questions and really great advice as well, Martha. But does anybody else have any questions in the chat before we go? I had Kelly up too as well, but I'm going to go ahead and connect her directly with you, Martha, so she can ask. Absolutely. And that way, if anybody else has a question here, they can feel free to ask us. But thank you again for joining us, Monica.
Thank you, Monica.
Awesome. Well, this was really, really helpful. So let everybody know, Martha, where do they need to go if they want to read your book or check out your website or get connected with you?
Great, thanks. I wrote all is on lifeisorganized.com. If you want some resources on like how to stop feeling overwhelmed, how to stop procrastinating, how to stop being distracted, come on over to lifeisorganized.com/resources. If you want to get your hands on my book, so it's actually called the 7 Simple Actions to Get Everything You Want. So we did the first 3, the ACT today. So spoiler alert, the actions, there's IONS still, and it's a lot more in depth than what we talked about. It's a fun, I think, very relatable read. So if you're interested, lifeisorganized.com/book. And then my podcast is Productivity on Purpose, lifeisorganized.com/podcast. So you can find that on all the places online too.
That's so great. Martha, thank you so much for being with us today. This is, again, like I said, a topic that's near and dear to my heart. My heart goes out to all of our members and non-members, all the women out there who are really trying to juggle so much. This is Women's Month, so we have been very focused on mental health and physical health issues for women. Even though we do tend to focus on women and digital issues, we know that there's more to life than that sometimes, all the time, actually. So next week on She Rocks, we'll be discussing how to make your cycle work in your favor, work for you. We're talking to a hormone specialist, and I'm really sort of jazzed about it because I'm coming up on 40 next week, and our bodies are always changing, and even being apart from one another, our bodies are changing. And so Kaylee has some really fascinating research and advice to share on how to get it to where you don't feel like your body's working against you, it's working for you, so that we can show up and work and in life for ourselves and show up for each other even better. So until next week, thank you all for tuning in. And thank you again, Martha. It was so wonderful having you here with us today.
Amy, thank you so much. You are fabulous. And this group is so lucky to have you.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Take care, everybody. Have a good weekend. Bye. Bye.